Hey everybody, it's Angie. How are you? Happy Thursday night. I'm so excited you're tuning in. Tonight we are going to be talking about one of my favorite places on earth, and that is Alaska. I had to have my little Mount McKinley picture that I got when I spent the summer there in the background. Yes, I spent a summer just outside Denali National Park working for a rafting company in between college and grad school. So Alaska has been in my heart for a long time. As you join in, please definitely give me a shout out. Let me know who's here. And I'm really excited to share with you tonight. We are going to talk about the itineraries that are pretty common when you cruise Alaska. And then I'm going to go through each cruise line and talk a little bit about what their specialty is when it comes to sailing Alaska. So let's get started. So the first decision you want to make when you're heading to Alaska is what kind of itinerary you want. Most of the cruise lines either do a round trip sailing from Seattle or Vancouver. So that means you will take a 7-night cruise that starts and ends either in Seattle, Washington, or Vancouver, Canada. The big difference between those two is that the Seattle sailings have to stop in Victoria, British Columbia. And most of the itineraries, that stop is late in the evening and usually only 4 to 5 hours long. The reason they have to do this is there's a law that says that you can't just come and go to the same U.S. ports. You have to visit a foreign port before you come back. So what that does is it kind of breaks up your itinerary a little bit, having that stop in Victoria. The benefit of sailing round trip from Vancouver is that you are already in Canada, so this law won't apply to you. So you don't have to have that stop on the way home, meaning you can spend more time in the Alaska ports as you sail around. So that's just kind of a difference there. The Vancouver sailing, though, means you need to have a passport because you will have had to enter Canada either by plane or by land. Right now, currently, for the round trip Seattle sailings, U.S. citizens only need their original government copy of the birth certificate and a photo ID. So that's why another reason the Seattle sailings are more popular is that people don't necessarily need a passport to be able to take those sailings. Then the other type of itinerary is a one-way. So meaning you either start in Alaska and come south, or you start in Seattle or Vancouver and go north. These are really for people who want to spend some time in Alaska on land. So you can see Alaska by train. Many of the cruise lines have an escorted tour program that you can add to the beginning or the end of your cruise. You can also do it by car. My husband and I did a 10-day do-it-yourself road trip through southern Alaska. That was really fun. So those are great options if you're going to take that one-way sailing. Because the thing about the one-way sailing is you do have that really long flight to Anchorage, which is a lot if you're just only doing a 7-night cruise. So that's something to really keep in mind. And as always, say hi as you join and let me know if you have any questions as I go through this. So again, the main two types of sailing that happens are round trips, either from Seattle or Vancouver, or one-ways that start in Alaska and come south, or start in Seattle or Vancouver and then go north to Alaska. Hi Lori, hi. The north to south sailings are more popular because a lot of people want to get that tour out of the way first. They want to get that long flight out of the way, that busy tour out of the way, and then relax on the sailings. So you will see some price savings if you do the south to north one-way sailings. You'll also see some savings on itineraries that do not leave on a Saturday or a Sunday. Saturday or Sundays are very popular dates to leave on these 7-night itineraries. Some cruise lines have had a Wednesday to Wednesday, so those tend to price a little less because they're not as desirable. So that's something to keep in mind as you're evaluating your options, that you could save some money by starting in Seattle or Vancouver, ending in Alaska, doing your tour on the back end. Now, my preference, and this is going to sound so funny, but it's only because I went there and did this, would be to start south and go north. I know it sounds so weird to have the long flight on the way home, but we had really bad jet lag from starting in Anchorage because it doesn't get dark I consider myself a pretty professional traveler. Over the years, we've gotten really good at getting used to new time zones, but a big part of that is being outside as the sun is going down. So flying into Anchorage, we just had a terrible time with the 5-hour time change and getting on the new time and not having it. So a lot of people struggled with the time change. So if you are a person that's sensitive to time change, I would consider doing the south to the north just to give you more time to get used to the new time zone, especially if you're coming from the East Coast. So that's something to think about. It's going to be a little cheaper, and I think it's going to be a little easier for you to get used to the time zone. So getting into the land portion, if you are going to do one way, as I said, many of the cruise lines have an escorted tour program. In my opinion, Princess's is the most robust and has the best options. And part of the reason for that is because they have their own train. So for years and years and years, Holland America and Princess used the Alaska Railroad system. And what would happen is they would be stuck with delays because that train line doesn't exactly run on time. Some of the lines still have flag stops, meaning that you could walk out to the train track, raise your hand, and the train would stop for you like you were flagging down a bus. So what Princess and Holland America decided to do was to get their own train cars, get their own engine, and go on their own time. So I think between those two lines, they have the most robust escorted tour programs. So something to think about. The other way is you can do it just by train. So there's train lanes that go from the major cities in southern Alaska all the way up to Fairbanks. That's a great way. I can piece that itinerary together for you, staying at the different stops along the way. And then, as I said, we rented a car and drove to the southern edge of Denali National Park and then all the way south to Seward and then back to Anchorage. So depending on how much adventure you want, that would be a way to do those options. All right, any questions about that? Does that make sense? So then getting into the individual cruise lines. So we can start with the family-friendly cruise lines, and that's going to be Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Norwegian. I believe Carnival is only doing a round trip out of Seattle. They have one ship there doing a round trip out of Seattle. Royal Caribbean and Norwegians do one-ways as well as round trips. These are not going to have as robust on-board programs with naturalists or lecturists. They'll still have them. They'll still have a naturalist on board that will give information. They'll still have lectures to explain what's happening. We did a lovely Alaska round trip on Carnival and had a great time. The naturalist was very good. You know, she got out on deck as we went into Glacier Bay. So they have those programs. They're just not quite as robust as you're going to find on Holland America and Princess. And obviously there's going to be more kids because these lines are geared towards kids. Now, something very special is happening with Norwegian this year, and that is they are debuting their brand new ship, the Norwegian Bliss, in Alaska. This will be the largest ship to ever sail Alaska. It has all the bells and the whistles, full water park, comedy clubs, Broadway shows. It's going to be absolutely incredible. I have my cabin booked. I just booked another couple on it on Monday, so it's very exciting. It's going to be amazing for families because the Bliss has a special haven area, which is a ship within a ship, which is more high-end. This is really going to change the way multi-generational families, grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, and the kids experience Alaska because they're going to be on a ship with so many kid-friendly amenities for those 2 sea days. When you sail round trip out of Seattle, you have to have a sea day to get to the Inside Passage and a sea day to get back. So the Bliss is going to bring a lot of fun to those sea days, and I'm very excited to experience it for myself. Now, I mentioned Glacier Bay, and this is another point I want to make about the itineraries in Alaska. You will have a choice of what scenic cruising you do. So Glacier Bay is an option. This is a national park filled with glaciers. It is not on all itineraries because they have started restricting the number of people that can go into the national park. So Princess and Holland America were grandfathered in, so they have the most sailings that include Glacier Bay. And then the other cruise ships just kind of split it up amongst them in terms of who's going to go to Glacier Bay. Other popular are the Tracy Arm Fjord, the College Fjord, or the Hubbard Glacier. The Tracy Arm Fjord is equally magnificent. It's a very narrow entryway into a fjord. If you've seen Frozen, hopefully you know what a fjord is. It's beautiful. You sail in. There's tall cliffs on either side, some waterfalls depending on the season. And then the Hubbard Glacier is huge. And one of the benefits of sailing the one-ways is that you get to do Hubbard Glacier and Glacier Bay on some of the Princess itineraries. That was the Princess itinerary we did. It was absolutely amazing. The glacier is massive. You get to see calving. It sounds like a gunshot goes off, and then you watch the ice crumble. It's amazing. We also saw that within Glacier Bay. So there's just so many exciting things for you to see when you start exploring Alaska. So Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Norwegian are kind of in a class by themselves with that very special Norwegian Bliss ship that is going to be debuting next year. Then we move on to kind of the more premium lines, Princess, Holland America, and Celebrity. Princess, I feel, does the best job in Alaska in terms of enrichment activities. They have amazing naturalists on board. Our naturalist made this map where she would say, at between 6 and 8 p.m., this is going to be our best chance of seeing humpback whales as we enter the inlet for Hubbard Glacier. Here's our best chance of seeing seals. Here's our best chance of seeing otters. And they'll be on deck with you. You're all out there with your binoculars trying to see. It's just a great program. And then they also bring lectures on in each of the ports. So in one port, they had the first female to run the Iditarod. We went to a lecture by a homesteader who talked about how he built his house by transferring lumber on rail cars. It was so cool. And I was like, Tiny House Nation has nothing on this man. Like, he had to get his lumber to the rail car, take it into the woods, and then somehow get it from the woods to the clearing where his house is going to be. Just really neat lectures. So I always recommend Princess. I know it's not the right fit for every family because some families want more family-friendly amenities. They still want the water slides. They still want the more active kids clubs. They still want sailings with more kids on board. But I think Princess is a great option as you go into Alaska. And good news, in 2 weeks, they are going to be announcing their 2019 itineraries. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining. So Princess, 2 weeks, 2019 itineraries. Can't wait. I already have a waiting list. If you want to be on the waiting list, let me know, message me, or just put it in the comments, and we'll touch base when those itineraries come online. The other piece about Norwegian and Celebrity that I want to point out is Norwegian and Celebrity routinely run promotions that make sailing them more inclusive. So one thing that's come about in the cruise industry is drink packages. Because when you book a cruise, what's included is your cabin, your meals in the main dining rooms, buffet and pool grill, the entertainment on board, the kids club. Oh, Lori, you're on the waiting list. Got it. But what's not included are your alcoholic beverages, your sodas, depending on the cruise line. And so these cruise lines have developed drinks packages where you prepay an amount per day that would just include all your drinks. Some include bottled water, some include specialty coffees, but include your alcoholic drinks and your sodas. Well, Norwegian and Celebrity routinely run promotions where your drinks package could be included. It's kind of a pick your perk type of thing. So a lot of people book Norwegian and Celebrity just to have that more inclusive experience. It makes it easier to budget, makes it easier to know kind of what your price points are going to be. Sarah, big fan of the drink package. Yeah, me too. It just brings such clarity to what your total price is going to be. I remember when I first started cruising, I was in my 20s. We found this amazing deal on a cruise. We went on the cruise, and I remember the last night of the cruise, that drink bill got put under our door, and it was more than we paid for the cruise. It was terrible. So I'm a big fan of these drinks package now that you can pay in advance, or you get it free as part of booking the promotion. So Celebrity and Norwegians do that. Princess does that promotion one time per year. So always be on the lookout for that. I always email all my Princess clients when that comes in. I'm like, you guys, it's here. The drinks package promotion is here. So that's another reason Celebrity and Norwegian tend to attract some additional bookings in Alaska, is because they have that all-inclusive promotion. Now, going to small ships. These are all the ships I've been talking about so far are large ships, 2,600 to 4,500 people. There are also small ships sailing Alaska. Azamara, Seabourn, Viking, Regents. These are higher end luxury cruise ships, much smaller. In fact, I just got off the Viking Ocean last week. Last week at this time I was on it. And it was wonderful. It's an absolutely beautiful ship, 930 passengers, fantastic service, fantastic food, very quiet, lots of spaces to just, sit by yourself and read. There's no casino, there's no announcements, there's no bingo. It's a really great experience. So if you want something a little bit smaller, a little bit higher end, those are available. But I will say when it comes to Regents is an all-inclusive small ship cruise line. And I have found, because of their all-inclusive nature, you can get a great value on those ships, because excursions in Alaska are usually about $100 to $150 per person, depending on what you're doing. So if you were thinking about getting a higher end cabin on, let's say, Princess, I always talk to my clients about looking at Regents, because all of your excursions are included, your airfare is included, your pre-night hotel can be included depending on your cabin. All your drinks on board are included. All your gratuities are included. I mean, it's just all included. I laugh when, we get a promotion that has extra onboard credit for Regents, because I'm like, what are they going to spend it on? And it's the spa. Like, that's basically the only thing on board that's not included. So when we start looking at Alaska, I definitely always include that one as an option if you want to upgrade to that more luxury experience. And then there's a really special cruise line called Uncruise, UN Cruise. And these are expedition ships that explore Alaska. I just had a client on one. She said it was absolutely amazing. So to give you an example of a difference, the big cruise ships go into Glacier Bay, they tour around for about 6 hours and they leave. The Uncruise ship anchors in the middle of Glacier Bay, and it has a marina on the back. These are very small ships. We're talking 28 to 46 people. It has a marina on the back. You can get into your kayak, and then they push you into Glacier Bay. You can do stand-up paddle boarding. They have Zodiacs that take you to the shore. Now, this is definitely no frills cruising. This is no frills cruising. Your cabins are very small, very simple, not fancy, but the food's amazing because it's all fresh and local. So this is a really special experience for you folks, and they call it Uncruise because it's people who would never take a cruise. When I tell people about this, they're like, "Oh, I don't want a cruise," and I'm like, "No. You want this cruise. This puts you in the heart of the action." So, for the Regents Cruise, Sarah's question: if the excursions are included, is it however many you want? Yes, for Regents, it is. You can have as many as you want. Now, obviously, you're only in port for a given amount of time. So there are some opportunities you can do one in the morning and one in the afternoon. It just depends what, if it's an 8-hour excursion, you're probably not going to have time to do two, but you do have your choice. Now, on the other hand, like Viking, the ship I was just on, they have one excursion included, but they pick the excursion. So we had walking tours in a lot of cities, a bus tour in a lot of cities. So they pick the excursion. Then you could pay extra if you wanted to do different ones. But Regents, everything's included. Yeah, Regents does sound amazing. And I'm always shocked at the value their Alaska sailings bring when you compare them to the mass market lines. Oh, I got away from my Alaska. Here we go. So that's something to always compare as you look at it. So that's the breakdown of just the major cruise lines. I think if you just want to check the box on Alaska, have a good experience, see Alaska in a very simple way at a low price point, I think Carnival and Norwegian deliver great experiences. Carnival is going to be the lowest price point because, nothing's included. Norwegian can be a great value, again, because those drinks packages or specialty dining is going to be included. Oh, great question, Lori. Best time to go. So if you're going on an expedition trip like Uncruise, April and May are the best time to go. It's before the main cruise lines have started sailing those waters. Everything is just starting to wake up. You have a better chance of seeing bears because they're just coming out of the forest, and the salmon aren't running yet, so they have to come to shore to find food. So April and May are great for expedition type trips. Sorry, my hand's getting tired. For the other ships, the season is mid-May to mid-September. Now, depending on with what kind of animals you want to see, there's different months that are better. So we have to look at when the salmon are predicted to run in order to find when the best time to go see bears is going to be. If you're just doing a cruise. If you're doing a land tour, it's a little bit easier to see bears because there's a number of rivers you'll see as part of your tour, or if you're doing it yourself, you can kind of go to the rivers where the salmon is running. And what I mean by running is that's the time when the salmon swim upstream to reproduce, and that brings all the bears. It's kind of like that song, brings all my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Well, those salmon bring all the bears to the shore. So that's what you want to look for. The whales tend to start their migration out of Hawaii and Mexico, like April. So you'll begin to see them in May. I mean, we've seen whales outside of Juneau in May and July and September. So they're always there. I did think they were more active in July. I did just sing the milkshake song. I did. They are more active. I did think they were more active in July because they had eaten. Because so when they arrive in Alaska, they are starving. Because when the humpback whales go to Mexico and Hawaii, they don't eat. They go solely to breed. Their food is in Alaska. So when we saw them in May, they could have just been lazy whales. I don't know, but they definitely were. We saw their tails, and they came really close to the boat, which totally freaked me out. I was like, oh my gosh, the humpback whale is right there. And even the captain was like, oh, we got to get away from this whale. But when we went in July and saw them, they were like jumping. They were like adolescents by then. The babies were a little more active and jumping because they had been eating for a month. So depending on the whales. In terms of weather, Alaska is totally unpredictable. Now remember, most of Alaska that you're going to see on the Inside Passage is a rainforest. The southern part of the Inside Passage is a rainforest, so it is going to rain a lot. Glacier Bay will always be very, very cold, especially cold to me as a Floridian. 40 degrees I'm going to get frostbite, I'm pretty sure. So keep that in mind. But I do have to say, my summer in Alaska, it rained every single day. We saw the sun 3 times. So as I was preparing my husband to go back to Alaska, I was just like, everything has to be waterproof. We have to make everything waterproof in the whole place. Like, we have to be ready. What do? We go in July, sunny every day. We were hot because we didn't bring enough cold clothes. So then in May of 2015, we go again, and I'm like, oh, we're going to get it this time. Nope. Still sunny. Oh, Betty, you took the Princess Cruise in mid-August. Oh, perfect. Great land and Inside Passage. Yay. Did you have a favorite port? Was there a port that was your favorite on that cruise? Time of year, as long as you're going anytime between April and September, I think it'll work out great. Now, we did have Northern Lights on our May cruise. And we were so mad because they did not wake us up. We found out later in the morning that about 11 and 11:30 that the Northern Lights did come out on our May cruise. So if you want to have the slightest chance, you could see the Northern Lights, which is the Aurora Borealis. I can't say it right. But it's, those green, eerie lights that light up the sky. Then you want to kind of do it closer to May, closer to September. That was a great question, Lori. Thank you. So then I think the other piece of Alaska is really thinking about how long you want to spend there. Because some of the smaller ships have much longer itineraries. They have 10 to 14 night itineraries versus the large cruise ships who have 7-night itineraries. Juneau was your favorite with the tram ride. Oh, cool. That's so neat. How fun. Well, I'm glad you had such a good time. Juneau's my favorite port because that's where you go whale watching. So that's really fun. So in terms of I think I was talking about the cruise lengths. So most of the mainline cruise ships are going to be 7 nights. But the smaller ships will go 10 to 14. You could also make a round trip if you wanted to. You could start in Anchorage, come down to Vancouver, Seattle, and then go back up, depending on the routes and the timing. And then there are some itineraries as the ships begin to move. So during the month of May, these cruise lines, Carnival, Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, Princess, all of them, will be moving their ships from other parts of the world to Alaska. So you can also find some interesting itineraries in May and September that start in Los Angeles or Hawaii, or, even transiting the Panama Canal to get that ship from sailing the Caribbean up through and to Alaska, depending on how many days you have to enjoy. So some really unique itineraries that include Alaska do tend to come out in May and September. So that's it. If you guys have more questions, you can reach me at Angie at tripswithangie.com, or obviously put them in the comments. Lori, you are on my list for Princesses 2019 release. Can't wait to talk to you more about that. And so just to recap quickly, the big things about sailing Alaska is figuring out if you want to do a round trip itinerary starting in either Seattle or Vancouver, or if you want to do a one-way starting in Alaska heading south, or the other way from south to north. South to north, it's going to price a little bit less. People tend not to like it as much because you have the long flight at the end of your vacation versus the beginning. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, Kate and Lori, for getting on. And then thinking about ships, Princess, I think, has the most robust itineraries, has the best onboard program. I'm really excited, though, about the Norwegian Bliss. It's going to be the largest ship to ever sail Alaska. This is a great option for multi-generation families who are worried about their kids being bored on the sea days. It does take a sea day either way, both ways, to get from Seattle or Vancouver to the Inside Passage. So the Bliss is going to have all the bells and whistles. It's even have go-karts. So it's going to be a great option for families. Celebrity provides a great value by including the drinks package. And then you have those small ships that you definitely want to look at. Always recommend taking a look at Regents because it is all inclusive, and excursions tend to be a little bit more expensive in Alaska. But it's really up to you. I'm excited. I think you can tell I'm excited about Alaska. I love Alaska. And if anybody needs any help making decisions about the best way to see Alaska, I am here for you. All right. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.